Hi guys, for this week we got an exciting lineup. Is something else that I've been dealing with is vulnerability in my numbers or in my analysis. I have just a few personal stories to go through, and if you want to hear them, please stay and watch the rest of the video. It's about vulnerability. Vulnerability has been something else that I think most people has been saying it's a weakness. But for me, I would say it might not be a weakness. It all depends on how you look at it. For me, after I've done my emotional intelligence training, I was told that being vulnerable is one of my strongest parts. But if you don't, I would suggest maybe you get yourself one of these books. It's quite heavy. It's actually two books in one. The first one is Emotional Intelligence, and the second one is Working with Emotional Intelligence. I was told to start with the second book, which is Working with Emotional Intelligence, and then you end up with Emotional Intelligence. Actually, what it does is it just helps you with whatever you're going through. Do you become transparent or not? A bit of a story time. It happened a while back. I was working with this guy. What we would do is, like most analysts, we'll create a stack of slides, what we call the pack. In our pack, we would have everything else from sales analysis, which was me. I was a sales analyst, but I was holding, I think I was called the reporting manager at the time, but all I was doing was sales analysis. And was working with me on the pack, and was a strategy analyst. So we would actually bundle it up, and then we'll present DIFCO in front of the MD with our manager there. It happened in this one time that after we have put up the pack, I think this was a few years back. It was around 2014 or something like that. A few years back, very few years back. It happened that after we put our pack together, I think one number was incorrect. There was a finger typing error because we were putting things manually on Excel, on PowerPoint. After we send the pack, because the pack is required a few days before, after we send the pack, he decides to start the meeting by declaring and becoming vulnerable. And he was chewed on, very much chewed on. Remember, I said vulnerability is the strength when I started this. But here I have a situation where the guy is becoming vulnerable to say, listen, Mr. MD, exact summary is actually wrong. The number that you see there is a finger typing error. I can't remember what the number looked like. It was more than 5 years ago. To say the number should read, let's say for instance, 10,000 dispersals. It's reading 12,000 dispersals. We have made corrections. But the fact that our stack of slides was already late, we sent that a night before instead of 2 nights before. We got chewed on. And every slide, even when he got to my slides, he would always ask, is their numbers right? Is this numbers right? Can I trust these numbers? You guys are so irritating, you're irritating me. For the whole pack, it was a lesson for us to learn. But it doesn't mean we never made any mistakes. No. We just handled our mistakes a bit better the following time. What did we do the next time? The next time what we would do is we'd have a stack of slides. There's a finger typing error. I think I would take 70 slides or 70 plus, almost 100 slides with all the different things. We would talk about sales, dispersals, marketing campaigns. All of that was all under me, and I would have different type of people. Would have the consultants that are commission-based, consultants that are permanent-based, and I would analyze all of those. What we did the following time, we made a note. When a slide was in error, we didn't dismiss the whole stack and reprint the new one. No, we didn't do that. Because that's what, the perfectionist in us will actually compel us to do, because we can't be weak. But what we did is, we would create an addendum or appendix, one slide that says slide 12, the correct number is this. The issue that was set in slide 17 has been resolved. Because 2 days is a lot. I don't know about you guys. 2 days is a lot. You can actually solve a lot of things in that 2 days. You submit today, and 2 days from now, you're presenting. By that time, what you submitted today is already outdated. A lot of stuff. So when you walk in, you don't walk in with the slide. Well, I tried not to walk in with the slide and say, listen, here's my addendum, all this stuff has been fixed. What I would do is, we would actually go through, because remember, these people has already spent their time to go through all the 99 slides that are presented, and they have questions. So the first thing that I would do, this is where I started with the Working with Emotional Intelligence book. First thing that I would do, and I think also the eighth habit, Stephen R. Covey, where he says, find the inner voice within you, so that you can leverage your strength and help others find their inner voices so you can leverage their strength. So what we would do is we would get there, and the guys in the forums will ask us questions, and it will ask based on not today's reality, but based on the reality as it was 2 days ago. So once we are done with what it was 2 days ago, when we get there, when they say, why didn't you call, but then we can say, oh, yesterday we were able to call, so that issue has already been resolved. Oh, badada. So by the time that we finish, we are able to engage the people in whatever energy level that they are on. If they're angry, we help them to get to the angry level, and then we try to calm them down, not just to come in with what you are reading is old, I have the latest one, and then invoke all these necessary energies that comes in the meeting. So what we will do is let the person engage us in the level that they have, so that what we do is we are able to engage with them and then tell them what the situation is or why did we get there. Once we are done with that, then we can be able to derive into a meaningful conversation, And then at the end of the meeting, then I would say, actually, I have the addendum, which is slide 100. Should I put it as part of that? Most of the time, because I already explained the slide as we're going through, they would not necessarily need it. They'll just say, oh, it was a good pack, good conversation. Thank you, guys. And it's quite funny why I'm saying this. As I was a sales analyst, I'm talking about when I was a sales analyst, even though today I'm a financial analyst. But as I was a sales analyst, when we were talking about sales numbers, I realized the powers that we had as sales analysts. Because what we do is the head of sales will allow you to actually do the number talk. Productivity, where did it go up? Trading days, how did it impact you? The impact of the billboard and all of those things. Those questions were being answered by me, literally. But when it comes to the strategy and putting it together, they would look into the head of sales. But I would rely on the head of sales interpretation of the overall strategy when I bundle up my numbers. So of course, there will be a lot of times where you go in to a review session and then you are told that what you have prepared is rubbish. And that's why I'm saying, based on what you put in, you put yourself to be vulnerable, you can be told to stuff off, or you can find strength in your vulnerability to say, okay, I stuffed up, I realize I have missed finger typing error. I come forward and I want to tell you, and you can have mercy or it can backfire. But what is much more important is understand your customer so that you can know what type of strength you would get in your vulnerability as you crunch in the numbers. So that is a very, very important part. Once we start crunching with the numbers, you'll realize that I will always say what happens when your collection method, your data collection tool spits out different numbers to what the other department is collecting. You are using you're using SAP and they're using Cognos or they're using Oracle. Two of them clashes. What do you do in that case? It means that all the time you might be vulnerable all the time, or they might be vulnerable, and all of you will be fighting in this masculinity type of alpha who's who in the boardroom. And if I want to go ahead with the alpha energy, we would never get any resolution. So what I would do is, in that case, you just go in, find your emotional intelligence, zoom in, and then you trade with your feelings to say, yes, you are right on this, I'm wrong here. It was a finger typing error, but I recognize that you spent 2 days reading the pack. Would you allow us to explain the rest of the 99 that's right, while we know that that one is wrong? That whole give and take, but it has a lot to do with emotional maturity. Speaking about vulnerability, I just got reminded this morning I was working on a beautiful, I'm now working on Power BI. I don't hardly ever do slides anymore. And this morning one of our execs was always battling with, Power BI can be overwhelming sometimes, and he wanted the simpler way of seeing Power BI slides. And he said to me, can you simplify my landing page? And I did simplify my landing page. And then for those that know Power BI, it's a dynamic system. He could see as I'm working on things, and then he sent an email to say thank you. I like what you've done to the dashboard. Just like seeing whatever I'm seeing right now. Being vulnerable, I came forward and I said, thank you for appreciating the slide. The other work is still going on, and I will let you know as soon as I'm done. Why did I do that? I didn't want to hide behind that I'm still way behind on some of my work. I'd rather come forward and become vulnerable to say, listen, it's taking us a bit of a longer because, I mean, right now with the financial situation that we're going through, with all this scenario plannings that we're going through, some of the enhancements that I was supposed to do are getting actually a bit of a backslap or a slide back, but I haven't forgotten about it, and I will put it top of mind as soon as possible. And I think he really quite appreciated that, to say vulnerability just doesn't have to come while you are in a big forum. It can still come when somebody else still asks you about small things. Pops you up an email while you're still at home to say, listen, how are we doing with those things? And you come forward and you say, I got 3 slides done out of 100. The 100 are still work in progress. I can show you the 3 now and for your approval. And then we keep on going with the other one. And I think from my side, that is where when I started just now, I said, I've been given feedback that vulnerability is my strongest point. I come forward as a human being who makes mistakes, but I keep people on the loop. And like most of us, I know the people that I used to look up to, they would really hide their weaknesses and only elevate their strengths. And that is the school of analysis that I was baptized into. You are the superhuman who doesn't make any mistakes. But as far as I came in, believe in me, I make more mistakes than anybody else. But I am open about my mistakes. And in so doing, I'm able to learn, because we sit in a meeting and they said, let December do it. December, speak to whoever. And that has opened up a lot of ways for me personally. This is my other story. Thanks for watching this one. The next one is also an interesting one. I'm gonna be talking about what do you need as a financial analyst, what type of information do you need, what type of, I call it a deck of things, what deck do you need, or tools, what tools do you need in your tool set. I'm going to be doing that based on my reflection, as well as what is my stake on education and what type of education is quite vital as an analyst. But as far as I'm concerned, thank you a lot for watching this video. Please consider subscribing if you haven't. We are also on other social media platforms at Analyst Bing. Please follow us on Instagram, and we are also on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we are on LinkedIn, we are everywhere. Until next time, thank you.